Dear beautiful and radiant viewers, welcome to the 23rd episode of Art and Dharma, where we will talk about the connections or interplay between art and Dharma. My name is Victor Gabriel and I am a lecturer at Sakya Buddha University in Santa Ana, California. You can reach me through my email awake.star.sky@gmail.com. In episode 23, I would like to discuss this artwork called the 24-arm Guan Yin, their iconography, their role in Buddhist cosmology, their devotional practices and significance. This episode is a further development of episode 2, Guan Yin in Royal Ease. In this particular form, her 24 arms hold different Buddhist symbols, representing various protections and blessings that Guan Yin brings. Guan Yin, or Avalokiteshvara, or the Buddha of Compassion, occupies a central role in many forms of Buddhism. The name Guan Yin means observing the sounds or cries of the world, reflecting their compassionate nature and their willingness to listen to the pleas of suffering beings. In this episode, we again turn to the Lotus Sutra. Guan Yin is shown in the chapter 25 of the Lotus Sutra or chapter 24 in the Tibetan version of the Lotus Sutra as having the ability to give these 10 protections. These quotations are from the Chinese version of the Lotus Sutra. Protection from fire. If there are people who wish to harm you by pushing you into a great pit of inferno, think of the power of the Bodhisattva Avalokiteshvara. The inferno pit will be transformed into a water pond. Lotus Sutra, chapter 25, verse 2. Protection from the dangers of water. If you are drifting in a great ocean and facing imminent danger with dragons, fishes, and other demons, think of the power of the Bodhisattva Avalokiteshvara. The waves will be unable to swallow you. Lotus Sutra, chapter 25, verse 2.4. Dangers from falling. If you are at the summit of Mount Meru and someone pushes you off the edge, think of the power of the Bodhisattva Avalokiteshvara. You will be suspended in mid-air like the sun in the sky. Lotus Sutra, chapter 2, verse 25, chapter 2. Protection from the whims of unjust governments. If you are suffering from the punishment of government and your life is about to end by execution, think of the power of the Bodhisattva Avalokiteshvara. The sword will be splintered in 2 pieces. Lotus Sutra, chapter 25, verse 2.8. Protection from prison. If you are being locked in a prison and your hands and feet are bound by chains and fetters, think of the power of Bodhisattva Avalokiteshvara, and you will be released and freed. Lotus Sutra, chapter 25, verse 2.9. Protection from curses or poisons. If there are people who wish to harm you by curses or poisonous herbs, think of the power of the Bodhisattva Avalokiteshvara. The effects will be bounced back to the originator. Lotus Sutra, chapter 25, verse 2.10. Protection from demons. If you face harm from vicious rakshas, poisonous dragons, or various demons, think of the power of the Bodhisattva Avalokiteshvara. No one will dare to harm you. Lotus Sutra 25, verse 2.11. Protection from evil beasts. If you are surrounded by evil beasts with sharp fangs and fearful claws, think of the power of the Bodhisattva Avalokiteshvara. They will quickly flee and scamper away in all directions. Lotus Sutra, chapter 25, verse 2.12. Protection during disputes or war. If you have disputes before the court or are fearful in the midst of war, think of the power of the Bodhisattva Avalokiteshvara. All enemies full of resentment will retreat. Lotus Sutra, chapter 25, verse 2.21. Protection from barrenness. If there are women who wish to give birth to a son, they should worship by giving offerings to the Bodhisattva Avalokiteshvara, who will bestow on them a son blessed with good fortune, virtue, and wisdom. If they wish to have a daughter, they will have a beautiful and adorable daughter, blessed with accumulated benevolent roots. Lotus Sutra, chapter 25, verse 1.11. These protections show the benefits of seeking help from Avalokiteshvara or GUAN YIN. One of the devotional practices to seek help from GUAN YIN is the Great Compassion Dharani. This Dharani or long mantra is also known as the Nilakanta Dharani, the Mahakaruna Chitta Dharani, or the Mahakarunikaya Dharani. Scholars think that the Dharani was originally a recitation of the names and attributes of Harihara, a composite of the Hindu gods Vishnu and Shiva. Nilakanta, the blue-necked one, is a title of Shiva, said to have been recited by Avalokiteshvara to pacify these deities. In time, these deities have become understood as various forms of Avalokiteshvara, who was described in these texts, such as Lotus Sutra, as manifesting himself in different forms according to the needs of different individuals. The Dharani came to be considered as being addressed to Avalokiteshvara or GUAN YIN. The various versions of this Dharani vary in length. There exist shorter versions transliterated into Chinese characters by the Indian monk DHARMA in the 7th century. This Dharani enjoys a high degree of popularity in East Asian Mahayana Buddhism. Especially in Chinese Buddhism, it is comparable to the 6-syllable mantra Om Mani Padme Hum, which is also synonymous with Avalokiteshvara. It is often used for protection and blessing. In Korea, copies of this Dharani are hung inside homes to bring auspiciousness. In Japan, it is associated with Zen, being revered and recited in Zen schools such as Soto and Rinzai. Out of the various transliterations of the Dharani in Chinese, that of Bhagavad Dharma 1060 has risen to become the standard in East Asia. This master was a monk who came to China from Western India around the 7th century and has 2 works in Chinese both on the 1,000-arm Avalokiteshvara. The latter of these 2 works, the Sutra of the Vast, Perfect, Unimpeded, Great Compassion Heart of the 1,000-hand, 1,000-eyed Bodhisattva Avalokiteshvara Dharani, made at Khotan around 1650 to 661 CE. The popularity of his version is attested by surviving Dunhuang manuscripts dated to the 8th century, some of which are the excerpt with the 10 great vows contained in this sutra. In China itself and various other East Asian countries, there are various anecdotes about the miracles affected by the recitation of the Dharani appearing from the Tang dynasty onwards. As the Dharani's efficacy became widely known, Dharani pillars on which the Dharani text was inscribed began to be erected, the earliest of these dating from 871 CE. This period, both the sutra text and the Dharani circulated among the monastic and lay community, with copies being made either as pious offerings or commissioned by the faithful to obtain merit. The reason behind the subsequent popularity of this transliteration is thought to be due to its relative simplicity compared to other versions, while other sutras on the Avalokiteshvara contain detailed rules on how to visualize and depict this form of the Bodhisattva. The very lack of such instructions in his text might have contributed to its democratic appeal for ordinary people. In addition, his version is the only one that contains the section on the 10 great vows and the blessings of the 15 kinds of good deaths, as well as protections from 15 kinds of bad deaths, the Dharani's concrete power over death, and the comprehensiveness of Guan Yin's vows might have been a factor that led to this appeal. The text begins with Sakya Muni in Avalokiteshvara's palace on the island of Polatanka, about to preach to a congregation of Bodhisattvas, Arhats, Devas, and other beings. Suddenly there is a great illumination and the 3,000 realms become golden in color, shaking all over while the sun and moon become dull by comparison. One of the Bodhisattvas present, Dharani king, asks the Buddha why this is happening. The Buddha reveals that Avalokiteshvara secretly emitted this light in order to comfort and please all beings. Avalokiteshvara or Guan Yin then begins to speak, revealing that innumerable kalpas ago, 1,000-like King Tathagata of tranquil abode entrusted to him the Dharani of great compassion heart. As soon as he heard this Dharani, Avalokiteshvara had them who had been of the first Bodhisattva level quickly advanced to the 8th stage, and reciting a vow became endowed with 1,000 hands and 1,000 eyes, so that from each epoch long ago, I, the Bodhisattva, have kept the Dharani as a result, and have been born where there is a Buddha. Moreover, I, the Avalokiteshvara, undergone birth from a womb, but always transformed from a lotus. After giving this explanation, Guan Yin then calls upon anyone who wants to keep this Dharani to give rise to the thoughts of compassion for all beings by making the following 10 vows after him. These 10 vows are: Nama Avalokiteshvara, the great compassion, may I quickly learn all Dharma. May I speedily obtain the eye of wisdom. May I quickly save all sentient beings. May I speedily obtain skillful means. May I quickly sail on the Prajna boat. May I speedily cross over the ocean of suffering. May I quickly obtain the way of discipline and meditation. May I speedily ascend the mountain of nirvana. May I quickly enter the house of non-action. May I speedily achieve the Dharma body. If I face a mountain of knives, may it naturally crumble. If I face a roaring fire, may it naturally burn out. If I face hell, may it naturally disappear. If I face a hungry ghost, may it naturally be satisfied. If I face an asura, may his evil heart gradually become tame. And if I face an animal, may it naturally obtain great wisdom. After making such vows, one should sincerely call upon the name of Guan Yin as well as the name of Amitabha Buddha. Guan Yin stresses the Dharani's efficacy by vowing that anyone who recites it falls into the evil realm of rebirth, or not born into the Buddha lands, or not obtain unlimited samadhi or eloquence, or not get whatever they desire in the present life. Guan Yin will not achieve complete, perfect enlightenment, unless those who recite it sincerely will reap its benefits. Aside from such spiritual and mundane benefits, as removing negative action caused by the 5 heinous acts, or curing 84,000 kinds of illnesses. The sincere keeping of the dharani is also said to result in 15 kinds of good rebirth. Example, being ruled by a virtuous king wherever one is born, fully endowed with money and food, able to see the Buddha and listen to the Dharma in the place of birth, and the avoidance of the 15 kinds of death, by suicide, death on the battlefield, death by salvation, for example. Guan Yin then recites the dharani. The earth shakes in 6 ways, while precious flowers rain from the sky. As all the Buddhas of the 10 directions are delighted, and practitioners of wrong views become frightened. All these assemble to reach the different levels of realization. Upon asked by Maha Brahma, Avalokiteshvara goes to further explain the dharani's benefits, both spiritual and temporal, and recites a gatha commanding various benevolent devas, nagas, and yakshas to guard the keepers of the dharani. The dharani is as follows: Nama Ratayana, Namo Arya, Avalokita Swaraya, Buddhi Sattva Vaya, Maha Sattva Vaya, Maha Karunikaya, Sarva Baye, Sudnatasye, Tam Imva Aira, Avalokite Swara, Ramdava, Namo Nara Kindi, Hri Mahavasasame, Sarva Atu Yobum, Ajayam, Sarva Sata Nama, Vastaya Nama Bhaga, Varavatu Tayata Om, Avalokite Karini Irni Maha Bodhisattva Sarva Sarva Mala Mala Mahe Mahe Karu Karu Karam Duru Duru Vajaye Maha Vajatye Dara Dara Dirini Sarvaya Chala Chala Mama Vamara Mutele Idi Idi Sana Sina Sina Arasana Parasali Vasam Vasaye Huru Huru Mara Hulu Hulu Hri Sara Sara Siri Siri Suru Suru Buddhiya Buddhiya Buddhaya Buddhaya Maiteriya Nari Kindi Dishtinina Padmayana Sarva Siddhayana Sarva Mada Siddhaya Swaha Siddhaya Yoge Varayana Swaha Sarakindi Swaha Makarana Swaha Sirasim Amukaye Swava Sarva Maha Siddhaya Sarva Chaka Siddhaya Swaha Padma Katasaye Swaha Akini Vagaraya Swaha Mavali Sankaraya Swaha Nama Ratarayana Namo Avalokite Swaha Raya Swaha Om Siddhayatu Mantra Padya Swaha. From the above, we can see that the dharani holds a significant place in Mahayana Buddhism, particularly in the context of Guan Yin, the Bodhisattva of compassion. The great compassion dharani is a sacred chant or mantra that expresses the essence of compassion. It is typically recited to invoke the blessings and protections of Guan Yin and to cultivate compassion within oneself and for all beings. Invocation of compassion. Reciting the dharani is a way to call upon the profound compassion of Guan Yin. The mantra serves as a reminder of the Bodhisattva's vows to assist all sentient beings in overcoming suffering. This invocation helps practitioners cultivate a mindset aligned with selflessness and empathy, healing and protection. The Great Compassion Dharani is often associated with healing and protection. Many believe that reciting it can help alleviate suffering, both physical and emotional. It is commonly used in rituals for blessing the sick, dispelling negativity, and providing spiritual protection. Psychological benefits. Chanting the Dharani promotes mindfulness and concentration. The rhythmic repetition can calm the mind, reduce stress, and enhance feelings of connectedness with others. It fosters an inner sense of peace, aligning with one's intentions with compassion. Culmination of compassionate action. The Great Compassion Dharani encapsulates the essence of Buddhist practice, transforming compassion into action. By reciting the mantra, practitioners not only express their devotion, but commit themselves to embodying compassion in their daily lives, seeking to alleviate the suffering of others. Cultural and ritual significance. In many East Asian Buddhist traditions, the Great Compassion Dharani plays a central role in rituals and ceremonies. It is often recited during temple services, meditation sessions, and special events to invoke the collective compassion and blessings. Today, we have talked about the 24-arm Guan Yin. If you have liked this episode, please write to me at awake.star.sky@gmail.com. Tell me what you like, what you enjoyed, and what you like to see more of. You can also submit artwork that you want me to comment about. Thank you.